Welcome back.
Thank you.
Happy Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah. Happy whatever, anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
James, I'll take anything.
Yeah. Listen, I was so excited. I bathed today, and it's not even Saturday, so that just shows you what a special day it is.
Jim, I wanted to show you the studio. Did you come to the studio? This is my studio. I wanted to show you. Have you come to the studio or no? This is why I teach all my classes.
I haven't been there since you've really set it up like that. Wow.
So it's pretty large, and I have all my stuff. You see, so I don't know if you've been there, but there's a bunch of cameras, and there's a bunch of cameras that helps me do all my classes. I have like 5 cameras here. Anyway.
Oh wow, wow.
Anyway, it's fun.
Very nice. Today, very nice, very nice. Well, what a gorgeous day it was. I took a big hike up into the hills today, and the view was spectacular.
Did you take a picture?
I did. I took a picture to send to my brother and sister in Michigan to make them jealous. It's cruel of me to do because I know that it's cold and snowy where they are.
Oh, yeah, good.
Which is why I don't live there. Which is why I live here, because it's beautiful all the time. We never have rain. It's always sunny, and it's always perfect, and everyone's happy. So we've got a few questions today. Some of these are old questions that were asked by old students. These are from your geriatric classes, so we didn't take them seriously at first, but we've decided to give them a shot. And one of them is an interesting question. Someone asked, "What is
bone
the?"
Broth. They were asking about bone broth.
Yeah. They wanted to know how they could stay. Yeah. Well, listen. When those relatives pass away, just keep the bones, and you can recycle that stuff. Depending on how healthy they were when they went,
That's what I'm saying.
So one of these old students asked, where is the bathroom? No, that was a different one.
That was answered already.
I hope so. They asked, what is, in your opinion, what is the most important trait a person should have to help them be a better cook? I suggested being tall enough to reach the stove.
Yeah.
Because I've seen the alternative to that.
Or the refrigerator,
yeah.
Actually, it's funny because we had someone wanted to do a bunch of kids class with us, which was fine, but they were like 5 years old and stuff. And they were going to bring those small wooden boxes. Before in front of the stove, and I was thinking about it. I'm like, I think that's going to be even more dangerous than what I mean. Like you see little kids on boxes with flames. I'm like, let's not do that. Let's go 8 years old and 10 years old. I can't do kids. I can.
Yeah, anyway. I think 5 is a little young to be at the stove. It's not too young to be in the kitchen doing things. Right. We've had kids at the counter mixing flour, breaking eggs. Yeah. My granddaughters could all crack eggs beautifully when they were like 4. Right. But I think the stove is still a little, and we don't really give them knives. Right. We let them play with the knives outside in the garden, but in the kitchen, no.
So the trait, I think you said organization.
I think it helps to be an organized person, to get your space set up, and
I think you need to, how would I say that? Like, not be afraid of the kitchen. This is the first thing, because once you're afraid, you just like completely, there's no imagination. You have to kind of like be cool about if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, it's not gonna like destroy the meal. Before you destroy your meal, you need to really go at it. So it's always edible, and it's always, you learn the second time or the third one you do it. So it's not a one shot. You need to do it and learn and figure it out. But I think a little bit of guts in the kitchen will help a lot. But that's, as you say in the question, in my opinion. So
And it's only food, so no one's going to die if you screw up the recipe.
I'm not talking about baking, huh? Talking about cooking, not baking. Baking is a whole different way.
Right. And I think a sense of adventure. I think of a sense of being willing to take risks. That's how you break away from the shackles of a recipe. If you can, and you're not afraid to improvise a little bit.
The next one would be, when you travel a lot, you get to eat a lot of food. And that's the thing. You need to travel and try the food there, all the food.
Yeah.
So that means that people with dietary restriction will be less exposed to, and it's going to be harder for them to travel. I'm talking about people that eat everything right now. People that eat everything, they need to go in many, many different type of restaurants. They don't have to pay a fortune for this. Get a feel of what it tastes like and try to replicate that.
Right.
So get those flavors in your head. This is how you build flavors, right?
Yeah, we're lucky in this area that we can travel around the world just by eating in restaurants, because we have so many different kinds of restaurants, and it's important to expose yourself to those things. I've never understood people that travel and refuse to eat the local food. I always think, well, what's the point of traveling?
Right. I mean, that's the whole point of traveling, is to what food do they make? How do they
and just to experience the culture. And I think
the whole thing,
the food is such an integral part of that if you're not willing to try new things and new flavors and new ingredients that you've never heard of,
like a poke bowl,
a poke bowl.
Oh man, those are good. That's easy to do, Lucia. This is super easy to do.
Lucy, you're very cute, and I love your tiara. Is that a tiara? Is that a little crown? That is awesome.
I think it's a dog.
Yeah, we're lucky here, and there's a lot of communities. There's a lot of places where they have big international communities. The Bay Area, of course, is got, God, you could eat just about from any country, any culture in the world here. So that's important, and I think just the willingness to try new things, the willingness to break away from a recipe and say, either I don't have this ingredient, or sometimes you try the recipe the first time, and then after that you switch it up, make it your own.
And then you can the goal, the trick about cooking, it's very easy. Make one recipe, do it again and again until after 2 times or 3 times, you should not look at the recipe. You should just do it.
Right.
I know it sounds boring and people, they want to do something else, but you can't go to the next step until you learn the basic of stuff. And that's what we do. We have a 12-week series here that I do, and this is what I do. I do step at a time, okay? And this is how you learn. You learn how to, and if you have a recipe, just do it again and again. Once you master it, you will never look at the recipe again, right? Maybe to get the ingredients, but that's it. So I think just to be adventurous. So I think my main thing would be adventure, like be adventurous. Yes.
All right. Well, there we go. Well, that conversation leads me to another question, which I think is similar, and that is a student asked, and I don't know why they asked this. This seems odd to me, but this is sort of one of those if you're stranded on a desert island questions, although a little different. They wanted to know if you could only eat one type of cuisine for the rest of your life, French, Italian, Mexican, whatever, what would it be and why?
But you didn't say stranded on an island. You said that.
Well, that's a bad analogy, because if you're stranded on an island, you're going to eat
I know. Bananas. Let's look at the menu. Today we have Italian today. Well,
today we have fish.
I guess we're going to eat Italian.
Well, it's like the cannibal said, I think I'll eat a little Italian today. But so I don't know. If you could have one cuisine for the rest of your life, I can't imagine the scenario that would make that happen. But suppose it did, what would it be?
I would eat something with a lot of spices, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So either North African or Indian food, because when you play with spices, you can have the same dish made several times with different flavor. That's what's pretty cool about spices.
Yes.
And you don't have to change the main item. So you can have like a few items and change the spices, make a pesto, make something cool, and you can have a different dish all the time. So it's pretty fun. And spices, people they think there's only cumin, cinnamon, and coriander, but there's hundreds and hundreds of spices.
Yes.
It's crazy the number of spices that people don't even touch.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Indian and North African food would be right up there for me.
That would be my food, yeah.
I might have to go with Mexican food though.
Oh yeah, Mexican.
Only because I love it so much and because it's so ancient. Of course, so are those other two.
Well, if I'm stranded on an island, I think I'd pick Mexican too because it's closer.
I guess it depends where the island is. If you're off the coast of Morocco, maybe Mexican's not the cuisine to pick. But
if you're in Norway, you can call our friend Frode.
Right. If you were off an island in the North Sea somewhere, I would call Frode and say, "What's cooking today?
What's the fish of the day? What's the fish of the day?"
Right. But to me, Mexican food, I just can't imagine I would ever get tired of it. Of course, I probably could say that for Indian food too.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah.
From a coastal state, yeah.
So that means what? They were stranded?
Well, if you're from an island, then it's all coastal.
Except the south side. It's only the north.
What was it they said that river prawns and fish on the coast? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
My God, yes. Preferably done on a beach somewhere. Some fellow said, I think it was the guy that wrote Tales of the City about San Francisco. He wrote that San Francisco is a city that's surrounded on 3 sides by water and the 4th by a foreign country.
Which one is that? Oh yeah,
San Francisco. Because it's so much not an American city. I mean, it is, but it's not. We eat dry shrimp as snacks. That sounds fun. I've been studying the food and drink. Turkey.
I've been studying it. Yeah.
I don't specifically know the food of Turkey, but
it's very close to Greece, and they don't agree with each other. But they have to remember that it's older than that. It was the Hittites. It was Byzance. It was the history of that food is very, very, very old, and there's a lot of mixture between Egypt and Hittites and the Roman, the Greeks. So
wasn't Turkey part of the Ottoman Empire at one time?
That is the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah. PPN.
That's so basically that area has changed so many times between different things. It would be very hard to find the provenance or something. You know what I mean? So,
Lucy, what's pipian? Is that pumpkin seeds?
It's a chicken pipian. It's really good dish. I used to make it in my restaurant in Paris, actually. Beautiful stuff.
Speaking of Paris, I do love French food, but the funny thing about French food is it's just not that old compared to Indian or Mexican, which are so ancient. They go back thousands and thousands of years. Not necessarily all the ingredients, because of course they didn't have things from Europe, but things like corn and chilies and squash and tomatoes, those go back thousands of years.
Ooh, pipian. Yeah, I'll make a pipian. I used to make the best pipian, man. In my restaurant in Paris, actually, Frode used to do it.
Oh, really?
He was my chef.
Yeah, right.
So I had this book though. I had a really cool books, Tex-Mex books, and one of them was this famous guy that used to live here. What's his name?
Mark Miller.
Yes.
Mark Miller. Yeah.
His recipes were great, and then I had a friend from LA opened my restaurant in Paris in '87, and he was from Rebecca's, one of the most decadent restaurant in LA. Fantastic Tex-Mex, one of the most beautiful Tex-Mex I've ever seen. And I recruited the chef to open my restaurant. So the recipes were really cool. Even the Goemio came to my place and gave me a 3-star. It was really amazing.
Did you was the food, I'm curious because the Parisians are notorious for not liking real spicy food.
Yeah, no, I would not make it spicy, that's all.
Yeah. Did you have like the salsas available that were
kind
of like...
the same thing, exactly the same, except the difference is my chips were fresh made because there was a factory, my friend owned a factory in Paris, and I would get my fresh chips, and that was pretty amazing. People would like go crazy for that.
Because I remember years ago I was in Paris once, and I ate at this Vietnamese restaurant that was pretty good. It was owned and run by these Vietnamese people that had migrated to Paris long ago.
Right.
But it was, I said, it's not very spicy. I said, can I have it spicy? And he goes, well, we don't make it spicy because French people don't like it hot. And I said, oh, really? I said, well, what do you eat? And he goes, well, we have some hot sauce that we make that we use. And I said, can I have some of that? And he said, sure. Because I said, I'm not French, I'm American. So he brought me some of the stuff they use, and it was super hot. It was delicious. But
no, mine was not spicy, but I would put little spicy stuff everywhere. And I would sell margaritas, and the margaritas were, how much was that? $40.
$40. Nice.
$20. I'm sorry, $20. And the pitchet was 300, so $30.
Huh.
$40. So it was more advantageous to take a pitchet, obviously, and it was about 5 margaritas in there.
Uh-huh. Wow.
I remember, or $50, because alcohol is super expensive in France.
Right.
The tax is 75% or something.
Yeah, throughout Europe, spirits are very pricey.
$20 is not that. I mean, it's $15-20 is really an average price for a drink in Paris. It's crazy, huh?
And you told me that you were the biggest. You were the biggest buyer of Cuervo tequila in all of Europe, or in all of France, whatever.
Europe, because there was nobody else.
Yeah.
So I started that brand. I completely pushed that brand all over France, man. And they made a killing after I was sponsored. Whatever money I wanted to do, whatever. So one day I did a giant party on Saint-Tropez, on the beach. I rented this whole resort.
Wow.
And we had the craziest party all night long. Tons of people, and Cuervo sponsored the whole thing. People were crushed. In the morning, it was dead people everywhere on the beach. It was Saint-Tropez, so in the morning it was intense. So we closed at 6, and then we had to clean up and stuff, and it was dead people, not dead, but like drunk people everywhere. It was Cuervo bottle. Cuervo did really good. And after that party, the press took on, and everybody wanted the Cuervo everywhere on the coast. They discovered tequila. They discovered slammers. That was bad, man. The slammers. Oh, God.
See, you have changed the world, Olivier. You have made a difference in the world.
I know. Yep.
Well, that's good. I like tequila. I can't say that I drink Cuervo.
No, I don't like Cuervo anymore because it was great at the time, man. But it
was all that there was for so long.
But there's so many good tequilas today. No, I don't drink Cuervo anymore. I don't think it's a good quality, but it was great at the time. It was beautiful. It was well, and they were super cool people, and we had a good time. We did amazing parties in Paris. I did a party in Les Bains Douches, which is the most exclusive nightclub. I brought Cuervo in there, and we did a party with Harley Davidson. We brought in. It was insane. I used to do the craziest party in Paris.
That's hard to believe. It's hard to believe you would do something that
I know.
fun.
So my restaurant was called Texas Coyote, and it was super famous because all the craziest party was there. And every time I do a party, once a month, we had a very special party, and then people would reserve and come, and it was like 500 people, and it was always,
Wow.
And it was always a different theme. Could be Morocco, jazz, Dixieland.
Wow.
Beautiful jazz people come in. We had the live when Bill Clinton was
and he was running for president. Yeah.
Yeah. We had the all night because my restaurant was open all night, so people could actually hang out and see the elections. So all the American people were at my place waiting at 4 o'clock in the morning. We were all drinking and like, oh yeah. That was crazy. Anyway.
Fantastique.
Fun time. Sorry,
very nice.
We deviate from all our good questions that nobody cares about. So
that's great stuff.
Yeah,
that's
I know.
Great stuff. I wish I'd have been there.
It's all food stuff, man. This is what we're here for. Make people dream a little bit and have fun with the food, right?
We started doing a memoir for Olivier. Olivier wrote it, and then I took what Olivier wrote, and I kind of edited it, smoothed it out a little bit into. I won't say better English. I'll just say different English.
True. I wrote it, and you added the verbs.
right. I did all the conjugations.
Yeah,
there were some wonderful stories in it about Texas Coyote and and you had 2 of them, right? You had a second one.
Yeah. And the first one was 6,000 square foot, 3 floors, in the middle of Paris, right next to the Louvre. We had a line at the door on weekends, like forever, all the time. Like it's insane how many people would come in that place.
That's awesome. Awesome.
I have pictures. I can prove it.
I believe you. Well, I've seen some of the pictures. You showed me a couple pictures.
Oh yeah. No, it was insane. Anyway, so
let me see. We have a couple more questions to get
to.
Let's
get one question because we have 10 more minutes. We'll do a half-an-hour show now. We are going to. We are working on that show to make it different. To have. We want to have cooking demos. We are not sure how to get the timing. So you guys, we'll let you know.
We're going to evolve from now through the spring. We're going to evolve. The show is going to just change ever so slightly every once in a while. So a student asked, in terms of cheese is there's basically one ingredient. It's milk. And is there? Well, there's actually more than one ingredient because there's milk. There's some kind of rennet to curdle the milk to separate the curds and whey, and then there's some sort of culture added, bacteria.
But you're right, though, because before all this, it was just one ingredient that went bad. That's it.
Right. So the question is, how is it that there are so many different kinds of cheese? Like how does that happen? And well, it's very simple because the type of culture that you add to the cheese, it determines what kind of cheese it's going to be. And those cultures develop naturally in different places around mainly Europe, North Africa, Middle East, the original places where cheese was made.
So just a quick note about culture. Culture could be yeast, right? It could be anything. So it's local.
Right. So in other words, when they first made Camembert, for example, which is relatively new compared to the original cheeses, but when they first made Camembert, they didn't intend for it to have a bloomy rind on the outside. It was just supposed to be a little fresh disc of cheese. But where they made it, there were these natural yeast cultures in the air, and they infected the cheese, and it quickly grew this mold on the outside. Well, you can imagine they were freaked out at first, thinking, oh my God, the cheese has all gone bad. But it was white, so they figured, well, maybe it won't be maybe it's not bad.
Someone had to try it.
Somebody tried it. It was probably the lowest guy, the lowest guy on the totem pole. They said, all right, Pierre, you taste the cheese. And they waited an hour, and he seemed to be okay. So they thought, okay, well, we'll all try it. And that's how these cheeses developed. Roquefort is made in caves. To this day, they still make it in the caves where all these natural flora are on the walls and in the air, and it creates the the cheese as we know it. And so all these cheeses, cheese started off as a very fresh, simple product that was just something that had gone bad in a goat's stomach somewhere and turned to a solid thing that they could eat. And then as these techniques got carried around Europe and people started taking cheese making to other locations, these cheeses began to be infected with the local flora. So a new cheese would develop. And in some cases, they wanted to make the cheese bigger, or they wanted to make it smaller, and this affects how the cheese ages. A large cheese ages very differently than a small cheese, of course. So just over time, it's just the local environments determined what kind of cheeses they were going to be. And now, of course, they make all these cultures in a lab, or they isolate them in a lab so that you can be more consistent in your cheese making. And if you're a cheesemaker in Iowa, you can buy a culture to make a camembert style cheese like you'd make in France, but you buy the culture and add it to the cheese. So it's much more controlled today. It's much more thought out, but it's still the same idea. And originally, this was just stuff that was in the air.
So I'd like to point out something very important, people. You have to understand that a lot of questions that have been asked, we do a lot of consulting for health coaching and cooking for people with cancer and such. And people ask, is cheese good for you? Well, I don't understand the question. What do you mean it's good? I don't get it. So you look at how many people are making cheese in the world. How long has it been made? Do you think we would have eaten bad stuff if it's made with a lot of love and it's like I'm telling people, if you don't want to eat it, just don't eat it. Disappear from my view. Don't try to tell people food that's made by artisans, sausages, pate, cheeses is bad for you. This is ridiculous.
Ridiculous. People have been doing this for thousands of years. You cannot think
that food that has been fermented, that is a beautiful product, is bad for you. And then all this world is eating it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, Yeah, cheap cheese is bad. Okay. Never eat bad cheese. I don't eat cheap deli meat. I would never think about. That's not even the point. A good cheese made beautifully is super healthy. It is super healthy. There's a lot of nutrients in there. So people stop with if it's food, fermented from real food, well sourced, it's good for you.
And actually, cheese is a lot better for you than fresh milk.
Totally.
Fresh milk is a great ingredient, but most people over the age of about 2 years old don't need to be drinking it.
Or even I think the limit is 15 or something. But
I mean, kids. I grew up on milk. I drank gallons of milk as a kid, but I don't drink it now.
No.
And as we've said on the show many times, a friend of mine used to say to me that you should always eat your milk. And I think that's good advice. I think that once milk is transformed into either yogurt or a cheese, it becomes a different animal. It's a whole different thing. And it's got these really good...
We're using microbes to be able to eat food that we normally cannot eat.
Right. Exactly. And this is true with any kind of cured food, from hams and sausages to
you have to
cheeses.
Go and look at bread. We can't eat it. We have to ferment it and make it processable so we can eat it. Beer, alcohol, kimchi is the best example. Cabbage, wild cabbage in the old days, you could not eat that. There's no way.
Right.
Today it's a cultivar. It's a different cabbage. We can eat it. In the old days, it was poison.
Yeah.
You could not eat it. You had to ferment that cabbage.
Right.
Soy. No way we can eat soy if it's not fermented.
You can't eat an olive off a tree. It's inedible. No. It's just simply inedible. But once you cure it, once you soak it in a brine for weeks or months, and it breaks down and it changes the molecular structure of the olive, it becomes this really delicious, nutritious, tasty thing. So that's all the time we have.
Thank you, James. Well, I know. Great.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Time flies when you have wings.
Yes. And I have wings, and I had fun.
chicken wings and fly.
I had chicken wings once, but I saw a doctor and now I'm better. Listen, we'll be back next Monday with new questions, and we will continue to evolve.
New answers, yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll have different answers to the same questions each week. No, we won't.
We should do that. All right, bye guys.
See you next week. Don't be afraid.